Hello, welcome to our Kiwi growing channel. I'm Audrey and this is Colin the dog. We hope that you enjoy seeing some of the things we've been getting up to this week in the garden and some of the exciting veg we've managed to grow. I can't believe it, I have a big surprise. In this bed here, I'm going to be replacing what was in here, and it had cabbages and Romanesco in it, and then I just let it go wild and let all the foxgloves and the poppies grow, and the wildlife had that and it was great. And so I've just ripped all of that out now and I've put in some new compost, a little bit. This is bought compost, yeah, a little bag of bought compost, mainly because my compost is still really quite chunky, and it was just a bit too chunky, and to be honest I was too lazy to sieve it because it's too hot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it now with these Chinese cabbage, which we really like, we enjoy them a lot. And I had some in another bed which were doing really well, and they survived quite a long time because they were sheltered by the, what's it called? What is it called? Oh, purple sprouting broccoli, that's the one. Yeah, brain freeze, yeah. And it got sheltered from that, from the harsh sun, and it did really well. Apart from one little bit where I decided, oh, I've built a little bean structure, a little teepee with beans, and wouldn't it be great if in the centre of that little teepee with the beans, I put a few Chinese cabbage. They'd be sheltered when the beans grow up, so they won't bolt really quickly, and they'll be protected from anything that might want to nibble them. Yeah, slight flaw in my plan is that I built a wire structure for the beans, and then I couldn't get to the actual Chinese cabbage inside, so it's all gone rotten and mouldy. Well, I don't know if it's gone mouldy, but it's definitely gone rotten. The only thing it'll do now is it will feed the soil. Okay, so I'm going to plant another set here. Like I say, I've given this bed a little bit of a refurbish, and I grew these from seed and in a little tray, a little tiny tray, and then I've pricked them out and put them in these little modules, so you get like 4. When you get plants and flowers from the garden centre, I like these that you get in 4s because they're given a little bit more space, so you can grow them on for a little bit more, because I had to wait till the poppies were done. I didn't want to rip them out and deprive the wildlife, so I had to grow them on for a little bit longer. And actually the place I grew them on for the last few days was in the bird bath, because on the odd occasion that we might get a bit of rain, it puts like half an inch in the bird bath and waters these. It's a fantastic place, and they suck up all the water, and now my bird bath's empty. I can clean it out and refill it again. So I'm going to fill this entire bed with the Chinese cabbage, because like I say, we do eat quite a lot of it. I love it in stir fries and things like that, and we eat a lot of those. So I'll just take off rough leaves that have kind of been destroyed, that kind of thing. But yeah, plant some out here. So I don't know about spacing because I'm not very good at it, but I kind of use the thing of, well, if I plant them about a hand width apart, like from there to there, that's a reasonable space for something that's like a glorified lettuce in a way, isn't it? It's quite a lettucey kind of looking thing. So I'll give it a go, and usually it works out okay for me. And what I do for other kind of crops, like cabbages and things, is I do 2 hands width, so kind of 2 lots of hands like that, and I kind of figure out, yeah, you kind of get it, yeah. So I'll put these out first so I know where they're gonna go. So these have done really well. Look at the roots on that happy little bunny, isn't he? Yeah, he should grow well. I don't tend to put right at the very edge of the beds because I don't know, things don't seem to do very well desperately right at the edge. This will have to be a short row because it's got a massive big foxglove at the end, which I'm not going to dig up, so kind of a hand width for that. So I'll probably get 3 in this row, and then I'll do 4 for the next row. Yeah, kind of. So we'll put these in. Even though it rained overnight, that is still as dusty as anything, but it probably only gave us half an inch of rain, if that, which is not enough, so I'm going to have to water these guys in. But I have to water every couple of days anyway, because that's just dry. If you look at that, that's just like dry sand, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll just water these guys in really well. And that third one about there, she says, hopefully that won't take too much nutrients away, that foxglove. I do like growing them because I think the wildlife really enjoy them. And then in this row, so I'll probably go like a couple of hand widths apart for the rows, so kind of about here is where we'll start, and I should get 4 in this row now because I can go reasonably close up to there. I don't actually know how many I've got, but like I say, I do like these bigger punnets because they allow more soil and that in it. So about there. And isn't there something nice about getting your hands in new compost or new soil or something like that? Make a little hole with my thumb and I know where it is. And last but not least, along there. I won't bore you with planting the rest of them. I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's finished. This is the bed with the Chinese cabbage completely planted. I actually had a spare one, so I put him at the end there, even though I said I never plant anything near the end. But I work on the principle of he'll grow or he won't. And at the other end, I had a little bit of space because for some reason I thought I had 3 full punnets, but I only actually had 2 and then 1 spare. So I had a little bit of space at the end, and I decided to put in some basil. Now, I've never grown basil outside before. It's really warm here at the moment, so I'm hoping it'll do okay, mainly because I'm going to net the whole bed, because I've noticed there's some white cabbage butterflies floating about. I saw a few dancing around each other earlier, so I will net this bed, because if I don't, then they will absolutely trash the whole thing. But all this needs now, it's had a good water with really weak tea looking seaweed solution, good old Monty Don. It should look like weak tea, he said, but the instructions on the pack, on the bottle, said put 30 mils in 10 litres, so 30 mils is like not even an egg cup in a whole watering can. So he is right, it looks really like weak tea when you put it on. So I've given all of those a little bit of a drink, and even though all of them apart from the basil had been sat in water overnight in the bird bath, if you put something that's really moist like these Chinese cabbage and then you put them into dry soil, all that happens is that the soil sucks the moisture out of it. A bit like the experiments you do at school, you know, osmosis and all that lot. It just sucks the moisture out of your seedling into the dry soil. So even if you think, oh, I've soaked them overnight so they're really wet, make sure you actually water them in, or else the ground will just suck the life out of them. But I'm quite pleased with that. I'm going to put the net on now and we'll go and have a cup of tea. Excellent, so pretty much covered now, and I'm really happy with that. It was great that I was able to cut back the lavender that was in the corner because it had finished, it flowered and that was it. So I've cut it back really hard, and they tend to rejuvenate again. I don't have any issues, and if it doesn't, I'll just replace it anyway. Another great success we're having at the moment is with the sweet corn, and this is about, I don't know, 2-3 feet high maybe. And what I've done is I've planted the sweet corn, and in between I've actually planted climbing beans. But I made a slight mistake. I planted the sweet corn when they were little shoots like that. I planted them in modules first and planted them out when they were little. And I planted the beans at the same time in rows in between. Never thought that actually the beans are outgrowing the sweet corn. I could have put them in maybe a couple of weeks later than I did, but at the same time I did it. And now the beans are actually coming over the top and reaching up and really want a bit more support. So they've ended up going over the hoops and things like that that are on these beds permanently. But some of them have gone up round the sweet corn, and it potentially might work. I'm hoping anyway. But as long as we get a good crop of sweet corn, that'll make us very happy. And if I have to deal with the beans and unwind them, then I'll give it a go. But we'll see how we go on. It's just an experiment. Exciting to do. I didn't put any squash in here because they say that's the three sisters, don't they? I've seen that on some YouTube channels, and I didn't put them in because I didn't have massive big spacings in between the sweet corn. There's only a couple of hand widths maybe between the rows, and I thought if I put squash in there as well, they get massive and they're gonna crowd everything out, but you never know. But next time I might give it a go. My squash are actually in the end of the bed, just in a kind of bit down there with nothing else around them, so they can just go across the garden and do what they like. The other thing that has done really well this year in the garden are onions. I multi-sowed these. I've never done that before. And I sowed them quite early because I've tended to do things a bit earlier this year, and it seems to be working quite well. But I think I'm right, aren't I, that once these necks start to die off, the leaves have kind of fallen over on their own accord, that once they start doing that, they're ready, aren't they? So if anybody can give me a comment, I'd be really pleased. Do I bend over the ones that have not bent over? There's a guy there that's really strong and healthy looking, but do I just bend him over because he went in at the same time as everybody else? I'd be grateful for some advice. In case you've noticed the rhubarb in the background going a little bit strange, it is trying to flower. I'll get in there and snick that off. But rhubarb here is very strange. It never dies back. It never goes back just to a crown in the ground and bare earth. It never goes like that. So all that happens is every now and again a few of the leaves will go kind of mottled and brown, or it'll throw up a flower spike, something like that. And so I take off the mottled brown leaves and the ones that have died and snick off the flower spike. But even in the depths of winter, if you can call it that, then we still have greenery. Obviously we don't pick it because it needs a rest time. We don't pick it much after the end of summer, but I'll get in there soon and clear that up. But it's good in a way, I suppose, because it never gets frosted and dies, but it's just strange not having bare ground, always having leaves on it. There's another example of how kind of rough and brown it'll go, because there's a few more leaves there that have really gone brown, and I'll get in there and I'll take those off. What I do at the end of the year, so kind of over winter time, is I put rotted manure on it. I get bags of manure from the local horse stable and I just leave them in the bags for 6 months. There's a few sitting around the back now, and after it's been in there for about 6 months, I spread it round the base of the rhubarb and it does really well. So coming out of the little secret path, ignore the frisbee because that belongs to Colin the dog, and here's fennel. I can't believe it. I've always wanted to grow fennel, and every year that I've given it a go, all that's happened is that it's turned into one of these big guys with all the fronds and the seeds and all that lot. I still use the fronds occasionally, but I've always wanted just to have a little bit of a fennel salad or a fennel and orange salad, and I have it. Look, I have fennel. Yay! I'm so stoked I can hardly contain myself.